Well, hello and welcome to today's episode. Today we're diving deep into the world of self-discovery and the incredible balance of masculine and feminine powers. With us today is the dynamic Princella Stringer, a certified connection coach, dedicated mother and loving wife, successful entrepreneur, and published author. After dedicating years to human resources across retail and manufacturing sectors, Princella felt a calling for more. She recognized that, like many of us, had this burning passion to venture into entrepreneurship. This became the realization that led her to become a certified strategic intervention and hypnotist, empowering others to reach out for their big dream and goal. Priscilla's journey, grounded in soulful introspection, revolves around helping people unearth their true passion and purpose. Today, she'll be unraveling how to pinpoint whether you lean more toward masculine or feminine powers, and the secret to balancing these energies in both your business and personal life. So without further ado, let's welcome the inspirational Princella Stringer. Princella Stringer, welcome to Create the Best Me. I'm going to say it is a privilege to have you on.
I love it. I'm so excited to be here. And our chats before the chat have been really great. I've loved connecting with you.
Great. Hey, before we get into today's conversation, can you please tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, I would love to. They might be wondering, seeing a new face on your podcast, but my name is Princella and I'm a connection coach for solopreneurs. Have you heard that term before? I bet you have, right?
Yes, I have.
So many people are unfamiliar with that. And so what I love doing is I love working with aspiring entrepreneurs, people that have a dream that they want to start a business and they just haven't connected with what they want to do, believing that they can do it. And I work with people to first discover who they are. And then we talk through the hard things, the fears that come up, and what we can do to not only overcome them, but actually embrace them and appreciate them and value them. So those fears are here to teach us a lot. So that work was something that I really wish that I had when I first started my journey. And the more I learned how to balance those feelings, it grew into teaching people also how to balance their masculine and their feminine energies and find that synergy there to help them be successful in business.
And so people might wonder, where are you filming right now?
So quick story. I'll try to share this really quickly. My husband and I always dreamed about traveling and living in an RV, and it was about freedom, right? And we sold our house quickly. We didn't expect to sell our house as quickly as we did. And we just went for it. We said, you know what? We're going to do it right now. We're going to buy the RV and start the life that we want to live. And it just felt right. The timing was beautiful. And I absolutely love it. I love being able to travel around to different areas. And our next stop is Arizona in January.
Wow, that's amazing. My husband and I, we have an RV ourselves, and we do little mini staycations, or because we don't travel outside of California. So that's pretty impressive that you guys are actually venturing outside of Michigan.
Right. Well, interesting you said that, because we sold so quickly. We ended up being in Michigan a little bit longer than we wanted to. And it's amazing what you discover in your own state that you didn't go and travel to. So I'm really happy that we got a chance to visit all the beautiful parks here. It's been wonderful.
And I will tell you, there was a couple we met. We're going off topic here, but there was a couple I met one time when my husband and I were in Mexico. They were from England. And we had just gone to England, or we did a European trip. And I told him, oh, you're from England? I went here and I started naming things. And he turned around and he looked at me and says, I lived in England all my life. And I have not seen the things that you've said. I know they exist because I go to London. I work in London, but he lived, I think, in the outer suburb areas. But he says, but I've never done the things you've done. So that is so amazing that we don't travel within our own community.
Right. Yeah. And there's so much to be discovered, even in your own town, exploring what's in your own town, let alone your own state. And I remember at that point when I first started an entrepreneurial journey, about really discovering where I can connect with people, what organizations were offering speaking engagements and looking for speakers. And so using the resources right in my hometown was a great place to start when I wanted to start my coaching business. And there's so much right at your fingertips.
Mhm. So, can you share a bit about your background and how you first became interested in the concepts of feminine and masculine powers?
Yes. So my background was in retail management. That's where I started. And then I got my master's degree in human resources. And I realized that what I loved both in retail and in human resources was to help people discover what they wanted to do, like within the work environment. Yes. But also when we have a job and we've got to pay our bills, we've got to do what we can in the job that we're in. And so I used to love sharing how they're really building their skill sets and their talents for the next thing. If their desire isn't to stay where they are in the job that they are in, then use it as a wonderful opportunity to build your skill sets. And that grew into one-on-one coaching, into finding and navigating my own journey as an entrepreneur, and led me to balancing masculine and feminine energies. I physically in my body have a lot of feminine energy, feminine behaviors. So in my body and also in my mode of being. And one of the biggest challenges for me was discovering how to balance my masculine and feminine. I'm like, oh, like I had no clue that the action taking that we needed to do in a business was my masculine energy. And that's where I started creating something based off of my years of experience in working with people and then my journey of entrepreneurship, and started talking about how important it is to know where you are on that scale. Some of us carry, like me, more feminine and my masculine. And then there's people that are the other way around. And they're like, gosh, I just want peace and flow in my life. How do I live a life that's not so stressed out while achieving my goals? And so I teach people that we're never exactly going to be here, but if we can get a little more, or know that sometimes it's going to be more in the masculine than the feminine and so forth. It teaches us that everything that we go through in life is for purpose and for value and for you.
And I think that some of the viewers or listeners might be a little confused because they might say, well, I'm a woman. Of course I'm going to have feminine powers because I was born this way. So could you please define the difference between the masculine power and the female powers and talk about how the concepts are strictly tied together?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I've discovered is that, yes, many people are confused by that. I had a conversation with a gentleman on an airplane, a trip I was taking, and we were talking about how since he was real young, he had this business. And as he grew, the business grew. And he still owns that same landscaping business. And he said, I love the things I have to do, keeps me working out. And I love the business side of it. And I grew it. And he's really proud of that. And he goes, now I have the time I was on my way to Yosemite Park, to go to Yosemite and hike with my friends and just enjoy nature. And I said, did you know that actually this process of you doing something that you enjoy and going hiking and enjoying nature, that is your feminine energy calling you. And he didn't realize that. And for me, I have some masculine energy in me, but since I'm highly feminine, I can walk in nature and just feel really refreshed. And by the way, that happens for a lot of us. We just don't do it enough and become aware of it enough to really relish in it. But I've learned that balancing, doing the things that I love that refuel me, and taking the time while I'm being refueled, saying to myself, okay, first of all, enjoying the elements, enjoying the fresh air, and at right timing, just asking ourselves some questions on, okay, what do I need to do next? What feels right next when you're in that space of really enjoying your feminine energy, of whether it's reading or relaxing or walking in nature and being creative. And then we're saying, okay, what's the thing that I need to put on my list to check off later? What is the physical activity I can do of writing the book? or making a call that I need to make. And so I hope that explains well the different sides of feminine and masculine.
So let me make sure I understand you correctly. So being more of a business mindset, is that more of a masculine power?
Yeah, we can definitely say that, because where that masculine energy really came from, it really stemmed from the beginning of business time, where many of the moguls of that time in the beginning of the business era were males. And that energy of getting things done at all costs were mainly run by men. There were women during that time that would do things in the background that were really supporting that male figure that was pushing and doing and executing and delegating. But then they would come home to family where they were nurtured and loved and asked how their day was. And having that balance, we can have that within ourselves, both of those balances by ourselves. And because of the beginning of business, it's stereotypically more of a masculine male mode of being.
That's interesting. And I say that, do you find that maybe women that have become single moms, maybe early in life and raised children by themselves, do they tend to have more masculine tendencies as opposed to women who maybe were married and had that partnership to where they got to be more of the nurturers, they have more of the feminine?
Yeah, everybody's different. And so our interpretation of how the masculine and the feminine showed up in our lives and in our upbringing can look so different for so many people. But what it makes me think about is that, what are my core memories from childhood? And because our parents maybe were able to provide going to the park or showing up for the events and things like that, we see that nurturing side of our parents, right? And not all of the masculine is going to be shown, which that's what happens with so many of us, is that when we're balancing the two, the more aggressive, assertive, more of that masculine is going to show up. And I think that with any parental journey, that balance of doing both for our families and for ourselves in a growing family or in a united family, it's really important to have that sense of balance in our upbringing and in the way we perform as parents for our children.
Can you provide examples on how understanding the powers can influence decision-making in leadership or the strategies behind a business?
Yes, absolutely. So it's been said for years, like women entrepreneurs that wore the cap since they were little, sometimes we're conditioned that way and we're taught that way. Maybe, as we're talking about mothers, maybe a mother was highly influenced by admiring the way their father used to, or their grandfather, whoever their male role model was, used to do and perform and do things. But still inside, maybe she still had some of those feminine qualities she admired from her mother, nurturing and being there when she needed to talk and things like that. So we're being conditioned by both of those influences, right? The second that you are within 6 feet of someone, you are automatically being conditioned by their mode of being and their behaviors. But where influence comes in is what we're seeing and watching and experiencing. We are taking mental notes all the time of what's working and not working and what we see as working and not working. And we're going to naturally adapt both the masculine and the feminine. Now, as we get older, we face our own pressures in life, and we have to make decisions like that so that we can do the thing that we want to do, where our values are, what's important to us. And as I said, those are all going to be affected by not only conditioning, but how we were influenced as well. And we can find a balance, and many times it's just not really talked about. So for people that are more in their masculine, this is where the challenges really come, is when we're more in our masculine, we're more prone to hypertension, high stress, disease in the body. When we're more in our feminine, we can live with flow and peace in our body, but then when we have to take action towards something, we're challenged by taking those action steps. But when we recognize that there is a way to take those action steps with ease and flow and paying attention to our feminine, that's where we can find the balance. And that's what I really want to help people do, is find that balance so that we don't have to live such a stress-induced life.
And that's really interesting that you bring
Mhm.
that up, because I'm more of the type of person that there's a process. There's A, there's B, there's C, and that's the only way to get to D. You have to follow the track.
Mhm.
Versus my husband. My husband is just cool, collective, and he has fun along the way to getting to the end result. And he doesn't follow A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking, I'm thinking, is he more of a female? Is he have more of the female side and I'm more of the masculine side?
Yeah. 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 And we both will identify with one or the other internally, but then there's also that external view as well. Quite possible, I don't know, I'm just completely making this up, but it's quite possible that there was a time in life where your husband was living in his masculine more, and he realized maybe he was way up here with the stress and hypertension. And then he realized, wait a minute, I want more peace and ease and flow, and then flip the script and realize the value in bringing more of that into life. This happens with so many people. I've coached several people on this, where that living the life of highly masculine energy is not good for our bodies. And inevitably it will show up. And you and I have had wonderful conversations about pouring into other people that have goals and want to learn and grow. That's you tapping into your feminine. You've also created a system where you believe, your brain believes, your body believes there is a way to have things happen, and that feels good to you and it works for you. So in our conversations, I really noticed that you have a beautiful way of balancing the masculine and the feminine.
Thank you. How can entrepreneurs begin to identify which power, masculine or feminine, they should operate from predominantly?
Yes, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful question. So I actually recently created an assessment, a self-assessment. So you very simply ask yourself these questions. And the questions I have in this assessment help us become aware of what is masculine and what is feminine. And awareness is so important to identifying our natural modes of being. And awareness also helps us to recognize that, wow, if I am highly masculine, and it's been proven and tested scientifically that hypertension will come as a result, or may very likely come as a result of living a highly masculine energy lifestyle. It's a moment of clarity where someone can make a shift, right? So the assessment is for that awareness and clarity to just know where we're at and just ask ourselves, is this working for me? Or do I want to make a change to bring in some more feminine? And once someone takes that assessment, that tells me, and then we have a conversation of what is working for you and what isn't working for you, and how can we incorporate a little more feminine so you can feel it more at ease once you've accomplished those goals you want to accomplish.
Do some people feel like, if I give up that masculine side, then my business will suffer? I'm not going to see the results that I'm currently receiving.
Yeah, I love to call it an experiment. Let's just play. Let's just see, how does it feel to just sit 5 more minutes with that cup of tea or cup of coffee and just look out the window? How does that feel when you go back into your workspace and the things are still there just waiting for you to do them, right? That few minutes of time where your body can refuel is hugely impactful to life satisfaction. And when you experiment with just small increments, then you start to become more and more aware of how that little bit of time can refuel you so much. Next thing, you're realizing that you can't continue on the path of do, go, go at all costs, because you've realized how good it feels in your body to take a moment to just breathe.
Stop and smell the flowers.
Stop and smell the flowers. Yes. And when we pull away, because actually the statements that you made about fear of being able to do what we can do, fear will come up. Will I be able to keep my status going? Will my business be as successful as it has been? Am I pulling away from people too much and not providing the right leadership? But once we adapt emotive being of realizing that it really is healthier for ourselves. And then you see the trickle effect of how it's impacting other people. You actually become a stronger leader when you can show others how, first, we don't have to respond in fear. And second, we value our vessel and our body to take care of it and nurture it and allow it some time to catch a breath and enjoy life.
So if you take the time to refresh yourself, you come back to your people that you manage as a more refreshed person and see things in a different perspective. And hopefully the energy that you're bringing, the positive energy that you're bringing is trickling down into the people that you're leading.
Exactly. Yeah, you said that beautifully. I often think about when we go on vacation and we're living a high stress life. We go on vacation and coming back is, it's so heavy on our body. I'm almost making myself feel that right now. It's so heavy on our body. And so if somebody in your audience is listening to that and you identify with that, it might be a time to make some changes on how we live the day to day. Trickling in a little bit more feminine is a beautiful experimentation, and it will be scary at first. But as your body gets used to it, your brain becomes less afraid, and it will be closer and closer to accepting it. You're rewiring your brain at that point that, oh, this is okay. And so it won't go into fear mode as much. And so you won't be as fearful of how things are going to fall apart if I don't make this call or make this sale. And our awareness is enlightened.
Yeah. My husband and I used to always joke when we used to go on vacation. We were both in the office. We used to joke about when we come back from vacation, it's almost like we need another week off to recover from our vacation before we actually go back into the storm. But ever since COVID and now he's working from home and I'm at home and we've instilled some healthy habits into our life, like taking that morning 3.5-minute walk every morning. When we've gone on vacation, we come back, we don't feel that pressure anymore of needing another week off to recover from our vacation before we go back into the storm.
Right. So do you think that you've always been in that way of trying to find that balance between enjoying life and doing the work?
I think all my life, I have always been the type of person that running to the goal. And so I'm kind of wearing like blinders. Can't look left, can't look right. You got to keep looking to that goal, toward the goal. And even when I'm on vacation or whatnot, there was no joy because the goal was what I was fixated on.
Yeah.
And so I will say that my perspective or my way of seeing things have shifted so much.
How has it been working for you? Are you feeling more relaxed in your body when you're working because you've given yourself time to refuel?
Oh, I think so. Because before I couldn't even think about taking time for my own personal well-being because I always had that feeling like I'm behind. I think we all feel like we're behind because in our minds, we want to be further ahead.
Yeah.
And so taking an hour out of my day to walk with my husband, have a conversation, walk. I used to feel like, oh, I'm going to miss 1 hour of work. And I noticed that whether I miss that 1 hour of work or not, if I miss that 1 hour work, when I come back, it seems like I achieved so much more than if I get up, do my morning routine, and then come sit down and start to work. If 3 o'clock rolls around, I feel like I didn't accomplish as much as I would have had I taken that 1 hour out of my day for my well-being.
That's beautiful.
Can you share a personal story where understanding and balancing these powers make a significant difference in your professional journey?
Yes. So before I started with some of the modalities that I'm using today, I wasn't completely aware. I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust my decision making. I was making decisions when I was either really high excited on something or really low and unhappy about something that just happened. Those were the times I was making decisions. When I realized that wasn't working for me, making decisions either really excited or really upset, it opened my eyes and I ended up coming across did you ever have something like just come across your Facebook or LinkedIn feed and you're like, oh, that, I'm going to look into that. Well, that's what happened to me with human design. And when I heard about human design, I go into the platform and I start researching and exploring. And there's so much data in that system. And for those that are not aware of the system, it's a system that combines quantum healing, the Kabbalah, the I Ching, astrology. I think I'm forgetting one, but all of those are integrated into the system. And I love assessments. I think I've taken every assessment known to man. And I did my profile. I found out what my human design is. And one of the first things that I discovered about myself was that decision-making process of making decisions at either a high or a low state. And so when I realized the value in allowing my emotions to get balanced before I made a decision, that was a game changer. It was so important to me. And I felt more confident in recognizing that just paying attention to how my emotions were and how I felt was something really important in my decision-making. And that trickled into discovering that when I looked at my human design chart, I realized that I actually have a very strong intuition capability within my body. It's how I was born, and what interferes with my intuition and my decision-making was fear. Am I good enough? In younger years, I didn't get the best grades. I was like some classes. So it's like, thank God I passed. And then I thought I had to get degrees to prove I was smart enough to do all of the things. That's what we all do, right? We get our degrees, we get our certifications to prove that we can do the thing. And so I got my master's degree in human resources, and it wasn't leading me to a path that I felt really good about. And when I discovered human design, I learned that if I came to certain awarenesses, like for instance, just seeing how much intuition energy was in my body, I was like, oh, I do have a strong intuition. Now, some people don't need something like that to tell them, right? Some people know certain things about themselves and they act on it. But when we allow fear to tap into our decision-making, fear to come into our brain, and we respond based off of fear, we're not tapping into our best decision-making skill sets. And since I'd been developing my intuition, now I'm able to feel it in my body when something does not feel right. And more, that intuition muscle is getting stronger and helps me to navigate what really is the best thing for me, even if it means having a tough conversation. I feel such release and feel guided and really trust who I am and how I'm meant to be in the world. And yeah, that was the greatest tool that I came across and discovered. Did that answer your question? I think I went off a little tangent. I love human design.
But I think that sometimes people because I always tell my children, follow your gut. What does your gut tell you? Yeah. Your gut's always going to guide you in the right direction. Yeah. But I think that sometimes we follow our gut, or maybe our gut was wishy-washy. And so we follow it and something bad happens. And so when our gut tells us to do something, our fear kicks in, our memory kicks in and says, do you remember that one time? Yeah. And that happened. Yeah. And so that fear grows humongous, and it's overshadowing the power of following your intuition or following your gut.
Yes. In the beginning stages of when we're becoming aware of our natural inclinations and what it feels like to have a gut response, there are a couple of different, we call them authority in human design. There are a couple different authorities where you make a decision. And I'm an emotional manifesting generator. As I mentioned earlier, it was game changer for me to discover the highs and the lows. But there is something called a sacral hit. And not everybody has this, right? Some people have that sacral hit where you just instinctively know what the decision is for you. And this is another beautiful way to exercise and strengthen that muscle. So if you're someone that feels like you get an intuitive hit in your gut, in your belly that says, do it, and then you allow the space to think, and then next thing you know, you're thinking too much, or you decide to ask someone else and they're not at the same playing field that you're on. So they're going to give you advice that's based off of their experience, their fears, right? And so there are external factors that can influence what we believe about our gut response. So when we have a gut response, and the other thing I also like to say to your point is that sometimes that gut response is there, all times that gut response is there to serve us. But sometimes it's not going to look the way that you envisioned in your mind. Sometimes there's a teaching to be had there that will lead to another and another along the path that you're meant to go to. So we have to trust the process, that it may not always look the way that we imagined, but every time we can ask ourselves, but what did I learn in this? And we will always find value in what we learned in it. And going back to my comment before about if anyone's out there relating to this, and sometimes, as Carmen said, it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, there is a way to strengthen that muscle with a very small, innocent way, which is just saying, I don't know what I want to eat. And then we think, do I want oatmeal? No. Do I want cereal? Yeah. So might not be the healthiest option, but just a small example. But you're identifying how does it feel in your body when a gut response feels good. And then you just go for it. Okay, fine. I'm just going to have one bowl of cereal. You have that cereal and you don't let the sugar, the milk. What if you don't have oat milk or whatever it is you need? So strengthening that muscle as to what feels good and allowing yourself to follow that gut instinct and go from there. Now, if we have the space in there where the thought comes in that may infuse fear or confusion, those we can quickly identify as not ours. Most people will have a mind or how they conceptualize the thoughts that come into their mind. Most people will be highly influenced by the external that will cause thoughts to come into our mind. And so when we can take that as our brain's way of protecting ourselves, we can say, thank you for that thought. I'm going to be aware of that for my next breakfast and have something healthier. And then just enjoy the cereal.
Can you give a success story from one of your clients or students?
Yes. So my favorite clients have been to work with individuals that are highly masculine. So once they get to the point of seeking out someone like me, they are feeling the stress. They are feeling not well in their body, and their body is signaling to them that they want to find something that feels good and not feel the pressure. I had one woman, her name is Robin, and Robin said to me that she was tired of living a life of going after the carrot, so to speak. In her language, she was always looking for the next promotion. And when she got that promotion, she was already thinking of the next promotion and was always on a path of growing. One day through personal events, it just hit her that was not the way she wanted to live life anymore. It was taking her down a path where a lot of stress was living in her body. And we just very simply started off by inviting her to have her tea on her front porch in the morning and just smell the fresh air and just sit and do nothing. And it took some time for her to really feel that in her body, to feel it as a benefit, and to teach her brain, rewire her brain that this is a good, productive activity. Then she was able to really adapt into that. And that's a game changer. When you see the feminine activities as productive, that changes everything.
So I understand you have a book coming out this month.
Yes.
What is it about?
This book, it's called The Unified Way, Balancing Masculine and Feminine Energies as a Solopreneur. This book is highly focused on solopreneurs, as I mentioned in the beginning, that I love working with people that have this big dream goal and they don't know what's stopping them from taking the steps. And there were so many years in my entrepreneurial path where I knew I needed to do something, but what? I didn't know. I wanted someone to tell me how. And I actually held on to my books for a long time. Some of them I never even read. I started to crack them open and I'm going, oh no, I'm not ready for that. I'll have to read that later. So with the book, I was able to look back on my journey and look at how do I infuse more masculine energy into my feminine energy to create the things that I know I am here to do. And I also discovered that there are many people that hadn't taken the time to figure out what they felt in their body was what they're meant to do. Many people say to me that they never felt that nudging or calling to do something. And the truth is that if that seed resonates with you, that you may have something that you really want to do in your life and a desire, but you don't know what it is, it's really fear-based. It's a mechanism in our thinking that holds us back from exploring and getting really creative with that. And it's such a joy to work with people to help unleash those creative juices.
So is your book like a coaching on how to figure out where you're at, whether you have a deficit within the masculine or feminine, and then how to bring that to life?
Yes. So we start off with that assessment tool that I talked about earlier so that we can become aware of where our tendencies are. Some people, they know right away when they hear what masculine energy is versus feminine energy, and they have an instinct of which one they lean towards. But when we do the full assessment, we also become aware of what does it really mean to really infuse some of those feminine energies in. And we're like, oh, I do that already. And so the only thing we have to do is just really enjoy it and embrace it and not let our brain chatter tell us that we're wasting time or that we're not being productive. And taking that assessment is the first step of awareness. And then we start drilling down. What are the goals that you want to achieve? Why is this important to you? And what do you envision happening in the future? And when you think about that, what you envision for the future, how does it make you feel? And when we get into those conversations, we're like unleashing all of the things that have been lying underneath that we just don't allow ourselves to think about. But this process is all about awareness and digging out the things that we just want to keep shoving down or pushing under the rug or closing the chapter of, and allowing us to embrace those. All the things that we've been through in our lifetime that got us where we are today is what will help take us to our truest mode of being and how we're meant to be in the world.
Sounds like an amazing book. What platform will the book be sold through?
So I am on Instagram and Facebook. And so reach out to me there. There will be a link to access my book. And that's the best place is Instagram and Facebook. And we can get in touch there.
So is it going to be a downloadable book or is it going to be a hard copy book?
Yes, both will be available. Yeah. We all have our different, I'm such an Audible person, but we love to have that book in our hands also. I've been known to buy both, that's for sure. And with that book, I actually meant to mention is that I will have step-by-step guides in there on how to actually do this on your own. Discover which ones you're higher in, living life most in, your masculine and your feminine. And then what can you do about it? So the book will have activities you can do. You'll also find QR codes in there. So I can walk you through some of the activities that can help you balance the two and create a structure. You had mentioned how you love processes. You do A, B, C, and D. So I've laid it out so that people can take a look at a list of feminine exercises and pick one that resonates with them. And that's the best way to do it versus me just mapping out what they should do 1, 2, and 3. I'm teaching people to tap into their body and find that awareness of what feels good. Does it feel better to sit on my porch or does it feel better to go for a jog? Or to read my book. And so whatever resonates with your body is, oh, yes, I'm going to do that today. And we take it from there. And then you start to discover your own routine and your own path to finding that balance.
So you said Audible. So I'm just going to ask, did you also record? Are you going to record the book or did you record the book?
I will be working on that as well. Yeah. But in the beginning, we'll just have an ebook version and hardcover and softcover.
Great. Lastly, for any of the entrepreneurs reading this, watching this, listening to this, what is one piece of advice you can give them regarding their own masculine and feminine power?
So the beauty in this is that we have the information already. Did you ever hear that expression that it's like peeling the layers of the onion? You just pull one layer and you discover something else under there. Those layers are built upon by conditioning and following other people's secret path to getting the thing that you want to get. But the truth is that you have it inside of you already. And when you allow yourself to just be in your own body, and what does my body say about that advice? We can get advice from other people, but then ask yourself, what does my body feel about that advice? Does it stir up any emotions? Do I feel good about that advice? If you feel good about that advice, then take the action. If you don't feel good, allow yourself some space to think about it. Yeah.
Great. Priscilla, where can people learn more about you? Where can they find you?
So right now I'm on social medias, on Instagram and Facebook. Those are the best ways to find me. And I also have a website, princellastringer.com. You can find out about where I'll be speaking or where you can find my book and when my audiobook will be coming out as well.
That's great. And I forgot to ask this, but what comes after the book? Anything in the future?
Oh, I love that question. So my dream, as I mentioned earlier, we're in an RV and we're traveling to different parts of the States. My dream is to really be able to go into different areas and share more about these teachings. I really want to help as many people as possible to just discover their true nature and what feels good to them. And pulling away from and stepping back, this is why I love working with people who recognize that they want to bring more feminine into their life. We have a better quality of life, not only for ourselves, but our neighbors and our children, and seeing that trickle effect of the impact. So my dream is to be able to go to as many states as I can and share the message and really show how to be in your natural mode of being.
That's beautiful. Can't wait. Thank you so much for coming on. I will include all of your information in the show notes.
Thank you, Carmen. It's been good. Been a great talk.
What an enlightening conversation with Princella Stringer. She's dedicated to helping individuals awaken and integrate the power they need most, striking a harmonious balance in both personal and professional spheres. The result? A life that's not only balanced, but also infused with purpose and good health. If you are eager to embark on your journey of self-discovery and understanding your inherent power, don't miss out on Priscilla's transformative book. Simply head on over to createthebestme.com/EP050 to get the link to secure your copy and today's transcripts. And now, remember, if this episode resonates with you, please subscribe to stay updated. Join me next week when we'll delve into the topic of marriage. This is an episode that is important no matter where you are in life. So be sure to not miss it. Until then, keep dreaming big. Take care of yourself. And remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week. Bye for now.